Chapter 6, The Hacker's Vendetta, but Kael knew better than to trust appearances in this part of the city. The electromagnetic dampening field that surrounded the building was military grade, and the subtle heat signatures his enhanced vision picked up suggested the interior was far from empty. Rook led them through a service entrance that required 3 different biometric scans and a vocal passphrase in what sounded like ancient Mandarin. The door was disguised as a simple maintenance hatch, but Kael could see the reinforced steel beneath the rust-colored paint. Inside, the warehouse had been transformed into something that looked like a cross between a surgical suite and a data fortress. Banks of quantum processors lined the walls, their cooling systems humming with barely contained power. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing streams of data that flowed like digital waterfalls. The air smelled of ozone and antiseptic, with an underlying current of something that reminded Kael of burnt copper. In the center of the space, a single chair sat beneath an array of neural interface equipment that looked far more advanced than anything Synergenica had ever produced. "Welcome to my real laboratory," Rook said, her augmented eye clicking as it scanned the room for any signs of intrusion. "This is where I've been working for the past 3 years, ever since my brother died, building tools to fight back against the people who killed him." Silas whistled low as he took in the sophisticated setup. "This must have cost a fortune. How did you afford all this?" Rook's smile was sharp as a blade. "You'd be surprised how many people are willing to pay for untraceable neural modifications. Corporate executives who want to hide their thoughts from their own security scans. Syndicate leaders who need to communicate without leaving digital traces. Even government officials who want to keep certain memories locked away from their own oversight committees." She moved to one of the workstations and began activating systems with practiced efficiency. The displays came alive with scrolling code and network diagrams that showed the hidden architecture of the city's data infrastructure. Kael recognized some of the patterns from his work at Synergenica, but much of what he saw was completely foreign to him. The Cortex link was never just about enhancing human capability, Rook continued as she worked. It was about control, about creating a population that could be monitored, influenced, and if necessary, eliminated with the push of a button. My brother figured that out too late. "What exactly happened to him?" Kael asked, settling into a chair near one of the displays. The neural stabilizer Rook had given him was still working, but he could feel the edges of his consciousness starting to fray again. The damaged pathways in his brain were fighting a losing battle against the corrupted code. Rook paused in her work, her expression growing distant. "David was brilliant, smarter than me, which is saying something. He was part of the beta testing program for the enhanced Cortex Link models, the ones designed for military applications. Project Mindbridge, they called it. The promise was incredible. Perfect coordination between soldiers, shared tactical awareness, the ability to process battlefield information faster than any human had ever managed." She pulled up a holographic display that showed a young man with Rook's silver hair and the same intense eyes. But where Rook's augmented eye was a marvel of engineering, David's face showed the subtle scars of multiple neural surgeries. The early tests went well. David and the other volunteers showed remarkable improvements in reaction time, pattern recognition, and decision-making under stress. But then the side effects started. "What kind of side effects?" Silas asked, though his expression suggested he already suspected the answer. "Memory fragmentation at first. Difficulty distinguishing between real experiences and data feeds. Then came the seizures, always triggered when they tried to access certain files or think about specific aspects of the program." Rook's augmented eye whirred as it focused on something only she could see. The project leaders said it was just growing pains, that the technology needed refinement. They kept pushing forward, kept demanding more tests. Kael felt a chill run down his spine. They were using the test subjects as guinea pigs. "Worse than that," Rook said, her voice hardening. "They were using them as proof of concept for the kill switches. Every seizure, every memory wipe, every cognitive breakdown was carefully documented and analyzed. They weren't trying to fix the problems, they were perfecting them." The displays around them continued their silent dance of data, but the atmosphere in the warehouse had grown heavy with old grief and burning anger. Kael could see why Rook had dedicated her life to fighting Synergenica. The corporation hadn't just killed her brother, they had turned him into a weapon against himself. David figured it out near the end, Rook continued. He started trying to document what was happening, to gather evidence that could expose the program. But the kill switches were already in place. The moment he got too close to the truth, they activated the Cascade Protocol. Just like what happened to Lysander, Kael said quietly. Exactly like Lysander, and like what's happening to you. Rook turned to face him fully, her augmented eye clicking as it analyzed his neural patterns. The degradation in your pathways is accelerating. The stabilizer I gave you is fighting a holding action, but it's not enough. You have maybe 18 hours before the damage becomes irreversible. Silas leaned forward in his chair. Can you fix it? Remove the corrupted code entirely? Maybe, Rook said, but it would require direct access to the provisioning servers that manage the Cortex Link network. The same servers we need to hack to stop the mass activation planned for the launch event. Kael stood up and walked to one of the displays showing the city's network topology. The Synergenica Tower stood at the center like a digital fortress, its data connections reaching out to touch every corner of the urban landscape. So we kill two birds with one stone. We break into the servers, stop the mass murder plot, and save my life in the process. It's not that simple, Rook warned. The security around those servers is absolute. Physical isolation, quantum encryption, armed guards, and automated defense systems that would make a military installation jealous. Even if we could get inside the building, reaching the server room would be nearly impossible. Nearly impossible isn't the same as completely impossible, Silas pointed out. You said you've been planning this for 3 years. What did you come up with? Rook smiled, but there was no humor in it. The servers are isolated from external networks, but they still need to communicate with the Cortex Link implants. That communication happens through a series of transmission arrays located throughout the city. The primary array is on the roof of the Meridian complex, but there are backup arrays in case of failure or maintenance. She manipulated the display, highlighting several buildings scattered across the city. If we can't go through the front door, we go through the back. We take control of one of the backup arrays and use it to inject our own code into the data stream. It's risky, and we'll only have a narrow window before their security systems detect the intrusion, but it might be enough. Kael studied the highlighted buildings, his programmer's mind automatically analyzing the technical challenges they would face. Which array gives us the best chance? The one in the old financial district, Rook said, zooming in on a building that looked like it had been abandoned for decades. It's officially decommissioned, but I've detected regular maintenance activity. Someone's keeping it operational as a backup to the backup. The security is lighter because it's not supposed to exist. When do we move? Kael asked, feeling the familiar mix of fear and determination that had driven him since Lysander's death. Silas shook his head. That's less than 8 hours. We need equipment, transportation, a way to get past whatever security they do have. And what happens if we're caught? Synergenica isn't going to just arrest us and hand us over to the authorities. If we're caught, we disappear, Rook said bluntly. But if we don't try, thousands of people die tomorrow night, and the people responsible get away with it, again. The warehouse fell silent, except for the humming of the quantum processors and the distant sound of rain beginning to fall on the metal roof. Kael thought about Lysander, about the terror in his friend's eyes as the neural cascade tore through his brain. He thought about all the people walking around the city with Cortex Link implants, trusting in the technology he had helped create, unaware that they were carrying potential death sentences in their heads. What do you need from us? He asked finally. Rook's augmented eye focused on him with laser intensity. Your access codes. Even though Synergenica suspended your account, the base authentication protocols should still recognize your biometric signature. That might be enough to get us past the first layer of security. And after that, we improvise. She moved to a wall safe hidden behind one of the displays and began entering a complex combination. I've been preparing for this operation for 3 years. I have everything we need: weapons, surveillance equipment, portable processing units, even explosives if things go completely wrong. The safe opened to reveal an arsenal that would have impressed a military special operations team. Kael recognized some of the weapons from his brief exposure to corporate security protocols, but others were clearly custom modifications that pushed the boundaries of legal technology. "There's something else," Rook said as she began selecting equipment. "The transmission array isn't just a relay station, it's also a monitoring post. Synergenica uses it to track the behavior patterns of Cortex-Link users in real time. If we can access their surveillance data, we might be able to identify other targets for the kill switch activation." "How many people are we talking about?" Silas asked. "Based on the traffic patterns I've been monitoring, potentially thousands. Government officials, corporate rivals, journalists who've been asking uncomfortable questions, activists who've been organizing against the expansion of neural interface technology." Rook's expression grew grim. "They're not just planning mass murder, they're planning to reshape the entire power structure of the city." Kael felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders like a lid blanket. The conspiracy was bigger than he had imagined, reaching into every level of society. But that also meant they had a chance to do more than just save lives. They could expose the truth and bring down the people responsible. "We'll need a way to broadcast the evidence once we have it," he said. "Something that can't be suppressed or discredited." "Already planned for," Rook said, holding up a small device that looked like a modified data chip. "This is a quantum broadcast unit. Once activated, it sends copies of any data we feed it to every major news outlet, government oversight committee, and public forum in the city simultaneously. Even Synergenica's lawyers can't suppress information that's already in the public domain." As they prepared for the mission, Kael found himself thinking about the path that had brought him to this moment. A week ago, he had been a respected engineer working for one of the most powerful corporations in the world. Now, he was a fugitive planning to break into a secure facility and expose a conspiracy that reached to the highest levels of power. But he had no regrets. Lysander's death had shown him the true cost of the technology he had helped create. The Cortex-Link was supposed to enhance human potential, to bridge the gap between mind and machine in ways that would benefit everyone. Instead, it had become a tool of oppression and murder. "There's one more thing," Rook said as she finished loading her equipment bag. "Once we start this operation, there's no going back. Win or lose, our lives as we knew them are over. Synergenica will hunt us to the ends of the earth, and they have resources we can barely imagine." "They're already hunting us," Kael pointed out. "At least this way, we have a chance to take some of them with us." Rook nodded, her augmented eye clicking one final time as it completed its security scan. "Then let's go save the world, or die trying." The rain was falling harder now, drumming against the warehouse roof like bullets. Outside, the city continued its relentless dance of commerce and corruption, unaware that a small group of rebels was preparing to strike at its digital heart. The hunt was about to become a war, and the stakes couldn't be higher. As they prepared to leave the safety of Rook's laboratory, Kael felt the neural stabilizer beginning to wear off again. The background static was returning, a reminder that his own time was running out along with everyone else's. But for the first time since Lysander's death, he felt like they had a real chance to stop the conspiracy and expose the truth. The path ahead led through darkness and danger, but it also led toward justice, and sometimes that was enough. Length, medium chapter completed. Assessment. Advanced the conspiracy plot while deepening character motivations and relationships. Balanced technical exposition with emotional stakes, showing Rook's personal vendetta and the growing scope of the threat. Maintained tension while building toward the climactic infiltration mission. Editor notes. Key narrative choices aligned with ARC, Black Market Fragments, revealed Rook's sophisticated operation and personal history with Project Mindbridge. Character development focusing on Rook's tragic backstory and professional capabilities, while showing Kael's growing commitment to the mission. Style consistency maintained with conversational language and cyberpunk atmosphere. Connections to previous chapters through continuation of the neural stabilizer effects and escalating timeline pressure. Structural considerations for flow and pacing, built toward the planned infiltration while revealing the full scope of Synergenica's conspiracy.